Trinidad is famous for its steel band and pan music, its spectacular carnival, and the scarlet ibis, which roosts and breeds in the Caroni swamp. It has two national birds, the other being the beautiful little hummingbird.
It was very exciting to be promoted to the Soldado marine drilling platforms in the Gulf of Paria. Several high-speed launches took the crew out, but when the geologist was required for a core or to check the driller had reached the correct sands, there was usually a helicopter standing by. This gave me a wonderful view of the platforms with their neighbouring tanks. At each platform a hole would be drilled down, but at a certain depth a wedge would divert it off in another direction. In this way, as many as 16 holes could be drilled from just one platform, all siphoning oil from different sands. Finding these was one of the jobs of the geologist. This drilling platform was equipped with sleeping accommodation and a kitchen, though most of the crew returned nightly to the shore. If, however, the log was held up for some reason, it was not unknown for the chopper to fly away without said geologist, who could be stranded there all night. 2 large tanks received the oil, which was then pumped to land, a permanent maintenance craft looking after the pipes. Attached was also the flare burning off the surplus gas. It was a shame to just burn this away, but the government had declined to make use of it when offered, saying it was too costly to install for use in the city. I have heard that this directional drilling is now being used along the south coast, drilling out to sea.
Now I would like to introduce you to the varieties of the family Peridae, or sweet oils, as these yellow and white butterflies are colloquially called in Trinidad. Birds, lizards, everything with a mouth loves them, so it's probably why they fly so erratically, in the hope their enemies won't catch them. We frequently found newly hatched versions clustered in large numbers around puddles, flushing themselves out before taking off. I mentioned before about a swarm of butterflies. Well, I was once caught in such a swarm. I was high on a hill, and it was like a pale yellow diaphanous curtain gently blowing across the valley below from as far as the eye could see. As the creatures neared, they flew up the mountainside, splitting to pass me by, and continuing up over the top of the hill. There were thousands of them, passing on each side of me, and the noise of so many wings stirred the blood. Yet not a single one touched me. Even if I waved my arms about, they were quicker. One would think it would be easy to catch one, but actually it was surprisingly difficult, if not impossible, for I could not keep my eye on a single creature as they dived and twisted to get out of the way. Exciting and spectacular it was to stand in the midst of such a swarm, and it continued for hours with no let-up. Eventually life and time caught up with me, and I had to leave. From where they came, I know not. Their destination, sadly, I also do not know, but I shall never forget the experience. Here we also see evolution taking place, as a couple of these whites try to mimic the poisonous tigers of Draw 1. The males have reached a good copy, but the ladies still have a way to go, though they're catching up fast. They look quite convincing amongst the colourful flowers. Sadly, deformed insects occur if their wings do not drop freely, though this one could still fly reasonably well. In the next drawer we have yet more sweet oils, with another pair evolving protective colouring to match the poisonous tigers. As is nature's usual way, the female carries the better disguise, as she is responsible for continuing the species. The male, who may outnumber the female by 100 to 1, has to put up with a lower underwing for identity. Were he, in his hundreds, to develop the tiger colouring, it would seriously devalue the protection of the female. Fascinating to see evolution at work. It is worth noting that the erratic flight of the sweet oils is only effective in open country, for insects supping nectar from flowers. In the jungle, butterflies tend to find protection by mimicking their backgrounds. Take another quick look at this drawer, for we do not have time to dwell on the many stories, especially those attached to these little darling ones at the top, for I must tell you about the Papilios. We were so excited when we caught this striking black beauty with her iridescent green, we didn't know which. So it happened we were in the right place to find several of them over the next few days. We needed 5 of each species, 2 males and 2 females, and 1 to put sideways. Imagine our astonishment when on further examination we discovered all our green beauties were males. What was going on? In the same location we discovered several caterpillars, so our collecting expanded. In no time we had a shelf in the spare room on which caterpillars resided in an assortment of kitchen containers, each with a vase of their feeding plant standing behind. As they hatched, all became clear, and we were astonished to see the variation, not only in colour but also in shape, amongst these cattle hearts. In the same drawer is one I always called the string of pearls, but actually it's locally known as the yellow rim. Such a mundane name for such a beautiful insect, whose pearls vary considerably in colour. I was sitting on the pipes deep in the jungle one day, munching on a biscuit, when I saw this slimy yellow and black bird dropping, shining on a broad leaf in the sunshine. I watched it for a while, suddenly realized it was moving, but up the leaf. Impossible, I thought, and went to look closer. Imagine my surprise when I saw it was actually a caterpillar. Naturally, I took it and his sister home, and they hatched into what looked like a small king page. But we already had many of those, and they fed off the citrus trees. Yet my little ones were eating the candlebush, a completely different family of plant. What was going on? Closer examination showed the king page had 4 spots on its top wing, while my babies only had 3 spots. A new species? Who knows? Lastly in this group of treasures is Papilio lycophon, the butterfly our surveyor discovered, and I already mentioned, the one that we didn't get till a year after everyone else. The next drawer starts with the king cattle hearts, which was so common on the citrus trees that we hardly bothered to catch it. Then, just before we were about to leave the country, we found there was a second female. Unfortunately, we did not have time to look for a better specimen, nor the problem of if they shared a male. A lesson. Even the most common item might hide a secret. The orange dog caterpillar, as it's known, scatters throughout the tree by day, but all of them descend to gather in a tight bunch at its base for the night, making a large writhing brown patch blending in with the bark. Should they be attacked, however, they each extend black horns and produce a horrible smell with which to drive their enemies away. Telesillas was one of those we would see gathered around a pool, but only the males. Once airborne, they flew high, well out of reach. Looking up, we also spotted their females, but never did they seem to come down. We tried everything we could think of, even going to the extent of attaching large wads of cotton wool doused in chloroform onto balloons, which we flew amongst them, but that didn't bring them down. We heard tell of a chap who'd managed to capture a female and put her in a cage on the ground, upon which several males came to investigate, but no other females. True or not, we never did manage to get one of these elusive ladies. Lastly, we have Belus Varus. Beautiful lady, and that she is too, gleaming there in the sunshine. Venturing down these jungle trails made by the animals living there, Peter would usually go first, while I followed behind, and quickly learnt to pick up the many little creatures taking off from under the leaves he disturbed walking past. The Ericinidae, or underleaves, are my favourite family. Unfortunately, there's only one representative of this family in the UK. In Trinidad there was an enormous variety, encompassing all sizes, shapes, and colours, which made it very exciting to search through the net to see just what had one caught. It was on such an occasion that I felt a sudden hot sting, and discovered I had included a small scorpion in my swipe. Fortunately he was a baby. I carried a large hunting knife on my hip to help me cut my way through the jungle, but when Peter tried to cut the wound, we found it was not nearly sharp enough. Peter had a cutlass and a penknife, and after several attempts he finally managed to cut my finger and suck the blood and hopefully the poison out. However, 15 minutes had elapsed, so I reckon he was already far too late. A proper kit with a razor blade was attached to our future equipment. Scorpions are not supposed to be able to climb. There goes another granny's tale. The Ericinidae do mostly sit under a leaf, so one doesn't know what they look like until they are caught. Some, like Goldrop, struggle to progress, though frantically beating their wings, while others shoot out so fast it's like a bolt of lightning. Unfortunately, many of these little beauties, including the next family, Lysinidae, are not named in our collection, but the British Museum refused to look at them unless we donated them, and that we were not yet prepared to do. They store their insects by species, and there's no way of telling where they came from, as they keep the detailed label on the same pin, holding the insect. Thus it is underneath and out of sight. So this collection of Trinidad beauties would be lost forever in a sea of species from all over the world. We know this because we went to Tring, where the Ericinidae are kept, and spent the whole day pulling out drawer after drawer, recognizing those we'd already caught and writing down the name of the species. Those still to find we could not, of course, identify. The Lysinidae are mostly blue or white, with shimmering iridescent scales. I can show but a few to you at the moment, for time is running out. Most of them have little tails and artificial eyes at the bottom of their lower wings, making it look as if their heads are at the other end. It was quite common to find a V-shaped tear where some creature had attempted to catch them, going for the wrong end. All they would get is a little bit of wing, while our butterfly would fly away to live for another day. There are naturally more to the collection, but we have concentrated on the most spectacular insects, the ones which catch the eye as one sits in the jungle and watches them sunning themselves in the dappled sunshine, chasing each other around the leaves, or just enjoying supping the nectar. So many questions still left unanswered, but we sadly had to leave the country, and someone else must answer them. Maybe one day some other institution might like to continue studying them and take care of our collection, but meanwhile we can still enjoy looking at them and remembering the many stories involved in the catching, breeding, and studying of these beautiful creatures. Thank you for sharing our hobby with us, and please pause and look at the butterflies flying around you on your next walk.